you ready? Let's go.
When you're feeling bothered and your spirit's low, your friends have turned their back and there's nowhere to go. Don't shed a tear, 'cause God will give you hope. If you're curious, then turn on. The Late Show with your number one man. Hope will light your heart. The Late Show, watch it 'cause it can. This is the Late Show starring Matt the Man Younan.
All the way from the land down under, from the heart of Melbourne, the most livable city in the world, the land of the kangaroos and koalas. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the one and only Matt the Man Younan!
Good evening and welcome to our very first episode of The Late Show. So, they told me I could be the Aussie Coptic version of Letterman, but I'm here to tell you that I'm Younan. That's right, Matthew Younan. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a 25-year-old accountant who loves chicken parmas and Hungry Jack's Whoppers. After all, they say the burgers are better at Hungry Jack's. No, but seriously, I wanted to be a monk, but God taught me not to upset anyone. And there would have been too many devastated young ladies out there with their hearts broken. So, here I am. So, in all seriousness, I wanted to kick off tonight's show by talking about being zealous about Christ and the service, and using our talents for God's glory. Have you ever wondered what your talents are? Have you ever thought if you actually have any talents? I'm guessing you didn't realise that they were talents that could all be used for God's glory. Well, don't go anywhere, because later on in the show, we'll prove to you that they can. So, in the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 25, our Lord Jesus Christ tells us a parable of a certain man who travelled to a far country and gave his servants 5 talents, 2 talents, and 1 talent respectively. The story then goes on that the servant with 5 talents went and invested them and gained another 5 talents besides them. And Christ, who's represented by the master, praised him and said, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord." Likewise, he who had 2 talents went and gained another 2 besides them. And his master also praised him. However, the third servant, who only had 1 talent, went and dug it in the ground, and his master rebuked him for his laziness. Often in our lives, we find that we, just like this third servant, also are not keen on utilising our talents for Christ and for the service. And for this very special topic, we're lucky enough to have with us in the studio the very talented, the one and only Steve Iskander, ladies and gentlemen. Would you please make him feel welcome?
Matt the Man, how are you?
Good, thank you, Steve. How you doing?
Very good.
Great to have you tonight.
Pleased to be here.
Thanks. Now, Steve, I wanted to kick this off by asking you about why there seems to be a lot of young people who do not want to seem to get involved in services at church. Often we're finding that there could be a new service and we call out for people to help out and get involved, and yet find that it's often left to a very small few. No one really wants to take on that initiative. Why do you think that might be the case?
Very good question, Matt the Man. You see, I'm no expert myself, but it is something that I have thought about. And rather than asking why is it that young people don't get involved in the service, probably one question we should ask is, what motivates these people? And I remember watching one social experiment one time where a shopper went into Soho boutique shop in New York as a black shopper. And they were assessing what was the response to this person, because the employee was told to be mean towards this black shopper. And so what they found was there was, out of the people that were there, 100 people just looked on and did nothing. Well, only 20 came to her defense and came and sort of defended her against the shopkeeper.
Wow, only 20 out of 100, hey?
Yeah, well, 20 out of 120. And so social analysts, when they look at this, they say the reason people aren't motivated to do anything is because they have some unfulfilled needs. That whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where there's other things that need to be catered for first before they're able to go and help others. And so this draws us to what is it that motivates people. And so there's a certain attitude that people need to have before they can behave in a certain way. And so in terms of asking that question, and it'd be very simple to say, yes, they're not zealous, and yes, they do not love the Lord. Maybe we're not motivating them enough, or maybe we're not finding services that would help them. Maybe there are needs there that need to be fulfilled before they can go out and help others.
Steve, you mentioned motivation and attitude being a great part of it. So how can we help young people get motivated, and what advice have you got for them to help them discover what their talents are?
You know, often that's a question that young people ask, and it's almost like they're just waiting, doing nothing, and just waiting somehow that they're going to find out their talents. But I think one way to know is to actually do stuff, is to actually serve. St. Gregory the Great said, "He who loves will receive more." So the more that you love and the more that you serve, this is a service of love. And so these things will be exposed to you. And I think very important to pray. Two is to ask God to reveal to him what his will is for you. But at the same time, there needs to be practice and persistence. There needs to be that service, and to look at things that may be a little bit different than what you would normally expect.
What do you mean by that, Steve?
Well, sometimes, you know, we expect people to, in the church service, to be in particular pathways. For example, they would be Sunday school servants, or they would help to clean the church. But maybe there are other services. For example, people might be talented singers or actors that may be able to serve God in creative and different ways.
Yeah, so these are some of the things that perhaps the church could do to help encourage and even engage some of these youth to get involved?
I think so. I think we need to start looking laterally in terms of what else can be done in order to help others and in order to serve within the church. I think the youth have a lot of zeal, and we need to sort of harness that zeal in such a productive way. So maybe the systems at this point in time within the church aren't there, and maybe we need to look at setting up new systems in order to help people do different things.
Great. Thanks a lot for your time tonight, Steve. It's always a pleasure chatting to you. Have a great day.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you very much, Matt the Man.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, Matt, what's up? 9 a.m. Late. Matt, it's called The Late Show. I'm allowed to be late. Replace me? Who's Wahib? Matt, it's called Melbourne Madness with Mina, not Wahib's Wonders. Alright, Matt, I'm on my way. I'll come now. Don't do anything without me. Matt, I'm on my way. I'm coming now. Bye.
Gifts, gifts, gifts. I'm not talking about birthday or Christmas gifts. I'm talking about the gift that God has given you. Let's take me, for example. God gave me the gift of being good looking. I use this gift to bring all the lovely ladies back to church. You're probably wondering what your gift is. Here are a few examples. Maybe God gave you the gift of small feet. Perfect for the kitchen sink. Maybe God gave you the gift of cleaning. Be passionate about it and clean the church thoroughly. Maybe God gave you the gift of time. Use this time wisely and make the icons look spick and spark.
Can't believe they replaced me. You know what, Wahib? You might be a little talented, but you can't pull this off. I'm recording from my own bedroom. You know what? I'll see you all next week on Melbourne Madness. Don't miss me too much. Over to you, Marina.
Thanks, Wahib. So my top 5 tips for today's topic, being zealous for Christ's service and using our talents are: 1. Know that patience permits perfection. This means that being patient allows you to make sure that you can create enough time for your service to prosper, as well as instigate the required effort that constitutes appropriate service for Christ. Tip number 2 could be, as indicated in the book Holy Zeal by His Holiness Pope Shenouda III, to be steadfast in heart. This is also demonstrated by Isaiah the prophet in his service for Christ. My third tip emphasises that someone who is zealous for Christ's service must put themselves forward for service with love. If you're involved in any type of service, whether it means to clean the church, visit the elderly, be a TV host on CYC, or to serve in Sunday school, if love is not encouraged, then success will become a rarity in that service. Tip number 4 denotes that zealous offers itself for service. That is, not showing a lack of humility, for it knows it will be the action of God working through it. Therefore, be confident in your service for Christ, because He will evidently be working through you. This is also exemplified in His Holiness Pope Shenouda III's novel Holy Zeal. Deny yourself completely when it comes to service. Give it your all, for your reward in heaven will be beyond your wildest dreams. And finally, remember that God has blessed us all with different gifts, talents, abilities, and skills. So don't ever think that you don't have any talents, because you do. And with God's grace, you can do amazing things. Now that's my top 5 points for this week, so back to you, Matt.
Well, as you can see, some of us are obviously more talented than others, hey? So, now that we've reached the end of this episode, we're not asking you to change who you are or what you do. We're just asking you to use the gifts that God has given you for His glory. You might recall at the start of the show, we showed you some examples of people who were on Facebook, a really top bloke who was working out, and some lovely young ladies who were shopping. So, for example, rather than spending countless hours on Facebook chatting to others and looking at their pictures, why don't you create a page and let others know what services are happening at church? Or why don't you use it to ask about people who you haven't seen for a while? Get in touch with someone. You know, there's so many disadvantaged people out there, vulnerable people who just want someone to ask about them. Why don't you ask about them? Rather than showing off your guns, why don't you not use them to carry things for the elderly who aren't as strong? You know, feeding them, the frail people out there, the disadvantaged, the vulnerable. Lift heavy things up at church for them. They might need some help with that. Rather than spending so many hours buying heaps of different fashionable types of clothing, why not stop and think about the poor people who only have one top to wear, if that? And perhaps since you love shopping, why not buy things for them? I'm guessing you didn't realise how talented you were after all, hey? I'd like to remind you that as St. James said in James 4:17, to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is a sin. We're all very talented. God has blessed every single one of us with different talents. My talents might be different to your talents, and your talents might be different to the next person. Yet we need to try to remember that if we do our best, God will bless the little that we do, and He will definitely do the rest. We might feel like we're useless, and we can't do much. Yet, through God's grace, we can do great things. And as Mother Teresa once said, what I can do, you cannot. What you can do, I cannot. But together, we can do something beautiful for God. So, make sure you tune in next time, because God willing, there'll be a discussion on the controversial question, if God is love, why is there so much hardship in the world? Until then, on behalf of our whole team from Melbourne Down Under, take care, God bless, and have a great night.
Are you ready? Let's go.
Why are you wearing a suit? Okay. Both of you at the same time.
Shut off.
Sorry, man.
Sorry, start again.